What's going on, everybody? You're watching The Sit Down. I'm DJ Sixsmith. Orange is the New Black, coming back to Netflix Season 7. Christina Toth is here with us. How are you?
Hi.
Very
Thanks
nice to meet you.
me.
So you've had quite a story. I mean, you've traveled all over the world, and we were just talking off camera. You jump into this mega show in Orange is the New Black, and it opens you up to a whole different world. So how have you reflected on this whole experience so far?
I mean, after the release of Season 6, you know when you're shooting, you have no idea of the effect it's going to have. Like, as I was telling you, like the notion that people from Brazil or Australia would reach out to me, it blew my mind away. I was like, the international level wasn't something that I was envisioning yet, because I knew you show up for work, you're at the studio, you do your work, you work with the camera, with your actors and everyone, and that's my job. The exterior factors of having this platform of visibility, it's like candy, right? It's extra stuff, which is wonderful, because the people that watch Orange and that love Orange, they really tell you.
Oh yeah, it's very passionate fan base.
Yeah, and it's always so nice, and of course you welcome those feelings, and it's a nice kind of like, I'm happy you like it. I love doing it, so it's great that everybody's
pumped
in this happy place.
Definitely. So what did you enjoy most about the experience, reflecting on Season 6 and then coming up with Season 7?
When I was watching it as like an audience member, I remember being very close or fascinated by Lorna's character. She was always like the one that I was very curious about, her and Nikki. And it's so funny how in Season 6 they were the two characters that I was navigating around mostly. And for me, as like a newcomer, and the idea of like always feeling some sort of an imposter because you're so new, like they've been on since the get-go, and you arrive. These two actresses, like Natasha and Yael, I mean, I would just sit and watch them. There's so much to learn from these two. And everybody, like every single actress on this show and actor, they're like a well of resources that you just want to like soak in terms of talent, but also just their character is so open and generous, and like I think that's one of the greatest gifts that I've had, to get to work with them. Also Mackenzie Phillips, who was playing Barbara, I really was kind of shadowing her or just being around. There was such information that they would kindly share with me without voicing anything.
So it's just a physical
by their
thing?
presence and just like studying them, or you know, getting to work with them in a scene. There's a different exchange that happens in terms of teaching and knowledge, because you take part in it with them. So there's not just the notion of like, oh, this is happening, but I trust you. I trust that you're getting this. I trust that we're in this together. And that's something that is so gratifying, that you, one, feel like you belong, that you're welcomed, and that you're trusted.
That's really interesting. So you have all that, and then you have the whole situation of the show and being in a women's prison and learning about that life. So what has fascinated you the most in terms of just popping in and seeing what life is really like inside the bars?
Well, I mean, I think they do an extraordinary job at like making it look like what it's like being in bars, but I think that we know that it still is a fiction story.
Representation, yeah.
And also, you know, there's my job as like, what's my character's job in the story, and what she is responsible for, what she's interested in, so that my job is to be interested in those things and know about these things. So, you know, I started being more invested in the idea of drug smuggling, which I started knowing more about, you know, that it is a definite thing that happens in prison, like everybody knows.
Absolutely, no question.
But to have a more like closer understanding, also in the way that it's written, like these writers are just exceptional. Like every time we would get a new script, it's always like surprise, because we don't have the whole season ahead. It's like episode per episode, so it's kind of nice in that way, because it always puts you on your toes of like what's going to happen next, and it feels like unwrapping a gift. You always like want more, and like when's the next coming, and you have to wait and patiently like yeah, for me it was mainly investigating in that, also to see how through the circumstances that your character is placed in, and also that is a definite reflection of just prisoners in themselves. Sure. Like the reality shifts in how you survive prison, and what your character personality will adapt to the different situations. Like not everybody will either fight or fly or run or whatnot. Like you just react differently, and it's to understand you as Christina or like you as Annalisa. Well, Annalisa would react that way. So you have to strip yourself away from that. Even if you're so different from your character, then you understand the surviving aspect of it and the dynamics of prison and where you stand, what's your role in that.
And Annalisa really has an edge to her. And she's tough, she's brash, she's very outspoken. You are very quiet, introverted, mild-mannered. So how did that part challenge you?
I mean, that's the joy of it. Like, I get to be me, and then to get to have a character that brings you so far away of what you are is the joy of it. Like, everything that perhaps like there's a part of me that's like wanting to be that way, but like never.
Right. Do you sense it in your real life? Do you sense it in your real life that you're starting to push a little towards Annalisa ever?
No.
No, you notice out those guardrails to make sure.
Is it like?
You're like, nope, I can't go there because I know what happens.
In your corner. Don't come messing with my life. No. But it's lovely to like. Sure, she's very outspoken, but I feel like there's an aspect to her that she works in the shadow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like she'll be there, she'll take everything in, understand everybody else, like study them, and then she'll go work on her way, like on her side.
Right, and then all of a sudden she just pops out of nowhere. Yeah, very smart in that way.
She's very like foxy and sneaky, and sneaks up on you.
Mischievous, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did you initially get the part? What's the backstory in terms of the auditioning process and just jumping into the show?
It's funny. It was like so quick. I got the call from my agent saying you have an audition tomorrow. Went, did the audition. And it's so funny how like things that are meant to be happen and so
quickly,
easily.
Yeah.
Like, it felt when I went into the audition room, I did it, and I was like, oh, this feels right. There was something that clicked, that I was like, maybe I'm the only one feeling that way. But then, you know, I got the call, and they were like, great, you're expected on set Wednesday. And that was Monday I got the call.
Wow.
And then Orange gave me my SAG card. But
which is huge.
Oh, God.
Life-changing.
It was like Christmas. I was like, made it! But it was just a tiny stressful moment, because there's a certain time that you have to wait before you get your card, but I needed to have it to be on set Wednesday, but everything worked out.
Wow, that's actually a situation where no red tape gets in the way or anything like that.
No, you just do it. Oh. And it's kind of terrific when those situations happen. They just remind you how limitless we are, or just, although obstacles come along the way, you manage them and you move past them.
Definitely. So you mentioned how great these writers are, and I'm sure in season 6 all this is new. You're reading through these scripts, you're like, wow, this is incredible. As you and the rest of the cast are reading through season 7, without giving anything away, what were some of the thoughts that were going through your mind as you're seeing each episode?
It's very invested in but Orange has always been invested with the political world. So that's definitely a huge component to it. And they really went there. Like Genji, I mean, I think the world of her, but especially this season, although it was the finale, she decided not to or at least to my understanding of what I saw from the season, there's no tying a pretty bow of being thank you for watching. Right. Oh no, she goes there. She's like, we're gonna go, but we're gonna do it the way we always did it, which is raw, you know, like it's everything's there. Extremely human. These women are like individuals. They're beyond the character. Like you can identify to flaws and great personality traits. And I feel like this season is definitely a highlight or a huge drawing of that.
Yeah.
For me, for the character, I was very excited to see that there were partnerships or unions and liaisons that she created with people I won't name, just to keep the suspense.
Yeah, yeah. At least for a couple more days, right?
But I got excited when I was reading, and I was like, no! And also, just for me, actor-wise, I was just beyond excited to get to work with these people.
Yeah, definitely. And so thinking about Orange, I mean, such a transformative show in terms of the landscape of television, not only because of all the women on the show, but just in terms of Netflix and binging the show. So when you think about it now that the bow is going to be officially put on it, what do you think will be the lasting impact of Orange is the New Black?
I mean, what I realized like a few days ago is that it started in 2013 when Netflix was still just like
people were getting DVDs in the mail.
DVD, right?
Yeah.
The idea of binging
wasn't a thing.
Was so foreign. People was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
But wait, I can watch all the episodes?
Now you talk about don't binge, and people are like, what?
They're like, what's wrong with you? You haven't watched all of them yet?
Just 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not that long ago.
It feels so long. It feels like binging and like streaming has been forever. I mean, that just blows my mind to see, for one, how fast time goes.
Yeah.
And how, I mean, and that just shows you how like Orange was at the starting point of that. So I think that it is a cultural investment that, and also a teaching, or, you know, they taught us what Netflix could be and what it could look like and what television could look like, giving you the freedom to watch whenever you want to watch, how many you want to watch. So it's they started the conversation.
Yeah, and it also was a show that was willing to go places that other shows hadn't gone. Like I'm watching Handmaid's Tale right now, and that's a show that it's really raw. There's a lot of crazy moments, but I think to myself, like, I've seen 6 seasons of Orange, and a lot of crazy stuff has happened on this show. So in a sense, I'm desensitized as a result of what your show has done. So I think that's pretty interesting how it's having this impact on other shows going forward.
I mean, it definitely, I felt like, paved the road for other people to feel confident in like being unapologetic or just really telling the truth. Like, it is a narrative, but there's so much truth about what the events are, what they're talking about, the situations, just the political sounding board, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there was definitely like model of like, if I can do it, you can do it, and that can be a platform for a truer voice.
Yeah, I love shows that force us to talk about things that are uncomfortable, and this is a prime example of that. Women in prison. We weren't talking about women in prison in the same way prior to this show.
It definitely brought a light on many, many topics.
Definitely. So how has this brought a light on your career in terms of opening you up to a larger audience, or just opening you up to new projects down the road?
I mean, it is definitely like opening doors, and I'm very thankful for it. I'm definitely eager to step my foot in the room. So the door is open. So I wish to get in the room now.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I feel it's coming. I've got nice things coming along. I'm going back to theater for the summer and the fall. And, you know, like I was telling you, I'm from the theater world. Like, I studied Meisner, and it's always nice to have a balance, I feel. There's this good conversation with TV, and Orange made me understand what TV is and the work on TV, and I really love it. Like, there's this idea of, you have 13 episodes to tell a story. You have so much room to tell a story and time. Theater is different. You have like 90 minutes, 2 hours, depending, and the conversation is different because the audience is right there, and you don't have any editing room. It's just you, and what they see is what they get. So the medium is so different, and the performances are adjusted according to the medium. But I feel like it's the conversation that changes.
Definitely.
Because there's a different directness. You can always have directness with TV. Like the contact is different.
Yeah, and theater is just immediate, and you can see the people right there. And it's, for some people, it's just a one-off experience. Say, hey, you're 2 hours here, we're hanging out together. Whereas a TV show, you're spending 13 hours, 15 hours with a person, but you're not getting that direct contact with that person.
Like we were just saying, like in theater, you show up. I mean, audience members, they show up. Now, TV audience members do show up, but in a different way.
Definitely. So for somebody like you that did so much theater, what was the biggest adjustment once you did start doing TV?
I mean, I've always understood the camera. I like, because I do a lot of film photography, and like I understand the eye and what you need in terms of framing from like an outside. I mean, theater is like a different type of body composition. Like you have, even in TV, you have your whole body, of course, but like the frame can be different, and you need to adjust to that. But still, your performance is still full body. You just have to be aware of how to fill the frame, and also when there's other people with you, you need to make sure that you don't hide them or. Yeah, but I've always understood camera, and I like camera.
Right, and that's the film background there, and just the photography background, and I'm sure that's really helped you.
Yeah.
Yeah, simply put. So if somebody had never seen Orange or didn't know about the process of making the show, what's something that would surprise them from your experience? Whether it's creating the show, whether it's being on the set, you know, an experience that you had, what would be something that would be cool for them to find out?
About Orange?
Yeah, about Orange, just the whole experience.
That's a good question. I think, well, so last year when we were shooting season 6, at the end when we were doing like the kickball game.
Yeah, great scene.
I mean, it's one of those experiences that I will always remember because it was physically challenging. And you know how like it's a thing, like when your body suffers, you retain the memory.
Right.
It's just how it works. So, I mean, it was freezing cold. I remember having like a belt of heating pads all the way through my spine. I really was like sticking it to my skin, and you can't.
No,
do that,
you shouldn't be doing that. It's gonna sear the skin.
And it did. It burned my skin. But at the time, it was so cold that I was like, "Oh, this feels fantastic." Until I got home and I had like the.
And you're like, "Oh, I probably shouldn't have done that."
But oh well, you suffer for your art.
Yeah, because how cold was it that day?
It was pretty. It was like
frigid.
You know when New York gets cold and like it gets cold.
Just very raw.
And we had to be there from like 4 a.m. to sundown. Wow. So you experience all different levels of coldness throughout the day. And but the good thing about it is that it really reinforced the idea that Orange is a family. And I've always understood it and I've always experienced it, but this was like a different level. It was like everybody was looking out for each other, being like, "Are you okay?" And we were in it together. Everybody knew that everybody was cold, their feet were wet, and just even the crew and the producers and everyone were always making sure, "Are you okay? Do you need a break? Do you need to warm up?" And the notion of like understanding that you're still a human and that your health takes priority.
Matters, yeah.
It was wonderful to witness that.
Definitely.
So this is one experience I put in my pocket, and
that's quite a story.
I cherish that. Yeah.
And I don't know if there's been a show like this where there's so many different characters and the show will say, "Hey, we're going to give time to all of these characters, show their backstory."
Right.
And a character like you pop on to season 6, you're able to make an impact. That's not happening on a lot of other shows.
Well, that's the power of the writers.
Yeah.
They like, even with one line, you get to say so more. And I remember that certain writers, they were telling me like, we understand so much with just that one line. And it comes to say that when it's strong writing, it's not the amount that counts, but the quality, and the people that write for Orange are extremely, like, those are the quality people.
That's awesome. So Friday, I'm going to start watching season 7. What should I be in for? What am I looking out for once I get it going this weekend?
I mean, you'll get emotional, which is okay.
Absolutely.
You can get emotional.
I've been emotional on this show. I'm totally fine being emotional on this show.
I think the idea is to, like, you know how people are like, I can take it, I'm tough.
Right.
I think that's the idea. Like, don't be tough.
Just let it out.
Just sit, enjoy it, take it in, be a human, watching other humans, let it impact you, and see how you feel about it afterwards.
All right, awesome.
And talk about it with your friends.
Yes, definitely will. Well, Christina, great to meet you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Season 7, Orange is the New Black, Friday on Netflix. That's Christina. I'm DJ. See you next time here on The Sit Down.